The Midnight Walk, a game that many are calling a masterpiece. But me, I'm not so sure. I'm bmackVR and welcome to Just the Negatives, a series where I briefly touch on a game's strengths and then dive into the pain points, the things that might just kill that experience for you. For the Midnight Walk, let's just say, if you think you're ready for this journey, you might want to hear what's waiting in the dark first, because this should have been a game for me, but ultimately wasn't. If you're new here, consider subscribing, and if you're old here, please give me some feedback on this one. I'm trying to tighten up my Just the Negative videos a bit here, but okay, enough waffling, let's get back to the positive portion of this video called Just the Negatives. The positives. The visuals are stunning. The unique art style is packed with creativity and imagination, and the voice acting, music, and sound design are all top tier. The closing your eyes mechanic is also pretty damn cool. Sometimes it's a weapon, other times it's a puzzle tool. I particularly enjoyed using your ears to listen for hidden objects. It was a clever use of VR's immersive potential. Another positive is the message of the story. It's centered around mental health and mental health struggles, and that is basically where the positives ended for me. Onto the negatives. Performance. I played this game on PC and my 5080 was dropping frames way more than it should have. This game clearly needs more optimization. I unfortunately did not play it on PSVR 2, but I have read that it does use reprojection. Anyway, moving on. Negative number 2, the story. The story in the Midnight Walk, it's just not told all that well. It feels like a loose collection of short stories that share a theme, but it's vague, scattered, and I found it hard to follow. It never pulls you into an exciting or creepy adventure. This isn't the kind of narrative that keeps you on the edge of your seat or makes you think, I just can't wait to see what happens next. I never felt like I was working toward a climax or unraveling something truly compelling. I also never found a real connection with the characters. They were only memorable to me because of their unique art style and the solid voice acting. But beyond that, there's not enough development to make me care. At times it felt like the story is leaning entirely on the soundtrack to do the heavy lifting. The music swells at moments clearly meant to be emotional, but without the groundwork or character depth laid, these moments just fall flat. Worse, the story and gameplay sometimes just feel completely disconnected. There's a section about a village that freezes over because it runs out of matches. Yet you're constantly interacting with these giant oversized boxes of matches. And moments like that just make the whole thing feel a little stitched together. There are definitely high points. There's plenty of creativity and a good message at its core, but in the end, the story and gameplay never work together in a way that sets the experience ablaze. Alright, let's move on to our next negative, the puzzles. Quite frankly, I found them boring, repetitive, and painfully basic. Stuff like stand here, stand there, press a button, or telling your companion Potboy to light a few fires. And you guessed it, that's another button press. There's also a lot of running and hiding, waiting for something to wander past, and you've done it all before. The puzzle design almost never matches the creativity of the game world. It's honestly quite baffling to me how imaginative the art style is, yet how dull the puzzles feel. And the visuals, they do a decent job of disguising it, but when you strip that away, you're really just walking down the path from puzzle room to puzzle room. And there are also sections of the game where it's just plain not difficult enough to be interesting. And I consider myself a very average puzzle gamer, not a puzzle savant by any means. Alright, let's talk the next negative now, the VR interactions. They're clumsy and inconsistent. Some feel great, like lighting matches or grabbing objects, but others are just plain awkward. Opening and closing the wardrobes you hide in feels like it was designed for a flat screen button press. Grab the handle, the screen flashes, and boom, you're inside. Sure, it's kind of creepy to peek through the crack, but give me some fun VR interactions. Force me to hold this door closed as the monster tries to open it, or something like that. The game just doesn't have a lot of meaningful VR interactions. Another example is these helicopter-like things. You press a button, you get attached from the handle you feel like you should be able to grab, and then you float away. But you don't need to grab it at all. It just doesn't feel very VR. Around the midpoint in the game, you get this match shooting gun you see here. And honestly, I just didn't like this thing at all. It doesn't feel right in the hand, it's awkward to aim, and the reloading mechanic feels completely ripped out of a flat screen game. You just hold a match in front of the barrel and then you watch it wiggle in your hand, and sometimes it loads one, and sometimes it fills the whole thing. I still have no idea why. Keeping it loaded is pointless also, because almost every time I grabbed it, it was basically empty again. And to me, it feels like the Midnight Walk just can't seem to decide if it's a VR game or a flat screen game, because it is playable in both. It straddles the fence and it shows. The whole thing is littered with button presses that should have been motion controls. It often feels less like a purpose-built VR title and more like a flat screen game with a VR mod slapped on. Okay, the next negative: poor pacing and level design that break immersion. This is a horror game that's creepy, but never actually scary. And that's not automatically a bad thing. But here, the lack of scares come down to poor pacing and predictable level design. Take those wardrobes that you hide in that we talked about earlier. You pretty much always spot the wardrobe before you encounter the monster. So the tension's gone, it evaporates. And when that doesn't happen, the level design is so linear and corridor-like that those scary moments just turn into you running down a hallway until you reach the hiding spot the game clearly set up for you. I never once felt like I was really running for my life in this game, and that's a shame. It's a real shame. The game's pacing and repetition also weaken the experience. Take this chase scene here, for example. Sure, it looks pretty awesome, but before this, I was chased by the same monster down a similar hallway like 5 other times over, I don't know, a half-hour period, each ending with me ducking under a log. This chase scene, it should have been great, but instead it just felt diluted. And this monster, despite its wretched guttural sounds, it's just really not that fast. Sure, it's faster than me, but sprinting is unlimited, so all you have to do is click sprint and go. And remember, all you gotta do is just go down the hallway and find that obvious safe spot. And rinse and repeat a dozen times. The horror needed the same creativity and uniqueness as the art style, and it just didn't get it. Okay, on to our final negative. The animation style, it kind of broke my immersion. That stop motion effect doesn't work for me. It doesn't feel creepy. It feels like my PC is stuttering or rendering the animation wrong. Instead of adding atmosphere, it looks like a performance issue. Worse, it's wildly inconsistent. Some characters don't seem to be in stop motion at all, but even more confusing is how some animations just aren't stop motion on the same characters. Because at times, Pop Boy, he moves silky smooth, and then at other times, he's just a jittering stop motion mess. And then you have stuff like this. In this scene, the walking house glides smoothly down the midnight walk, while the tall creature walking past it just kind of jerks around in stop motion. It's jarring, and it kills the illusion, and my brain just says, oh, this isn't real. It's fake. And once that happened, all the horror elements just lost their edge entirely. In closing, the Midnight Walk feels torn between being a VR game and a flat screen experience. It's a game that gets propped up by its incredible art style and creativity, but once that wears off, we're left with simple puzzles and clunky VR mechanics. The story is full of great intentions, but it wasn't able to keep my attention or really get me invested in it, despite the music's best efforts. The horror potential is there, but it's buried under pacing issues, a lack of depth, and drowns under the weight of its immersion-breaking animations. So what is my verdict for the Midnight Walk? It wasn't a game for me, but this most certainly is a love it or hate it experience. It might be a game for you, even though it let me down. Either way, if you're thinking about picking it up, I'd wait for a sale. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, drop a comment down below, and please consider subscribing to see more of my reviews. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time.